Call to order, Town of Prescott Valley, regular town council meeting, January 9th, 2025. Folks, welcome everyone. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Williams, absent. Councilmember Keel,
Present.
Councilmember Greer,
Here.
Councilmember Schumacher,
Present.
Councilmember Freund, Vice Mayor Searcher,
Here.
Mayor Pagoda.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thanks, ma'am. At this time, I'd like to welcome down Pastor Jeff Jackson with the Christ Church of Prescott Valley for our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. If you can stand, please do.
Would you join me in prayer? Dear God, gracious Father, Lord, we thank you for the promise of a brand new year, for all its hope and opportunity. Lord, we thank you for this community we call home, a place of natural beauty and abundant resource. Lord, we thank you for the people of our community, blessed with their many talents and abilities. Lord, we thank you for city government, our town servant leaders. And Lord, we pray that you guide this council tonight, give them wisdom and discernment in all their deliberations and decisions, that it might bless and benefit the people of our city. We pray all of this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen. And now would you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. And now, next up, it's our item 3, and I just want to say I'm super excited about this item. Arizona State flag presented to us by First Sergeant Brandon Garland. Sir, welcome. And your beautiful wife as well.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and present this to the citizens of Prescott Valley today. My name is First Sergeant Brandon Garland. Accompanying me is my wife, Regina. I'm a member of the 856 Military Police Company for the Arizona Army National Guard. The 159 soldiers of the 856 returned from deployment on 16 November 2024, after being away from family and friends for over 300 days. The 856 was directed to provide customs operations to the Central Command Theater. The soldiers of the 856 company conducted customs operations in 10 separate countries in 29 separate locations. Our responsibility was to inspect all military personnel and equipment and prevent agricultural threats and illegal contraband from being introduced into America, thus protecting the American citizens, the economy, and our farmland. With that being said, as soldiers, we are always thanked for our service. However, we're not alone out there. Sometimes it's easy for us to forget that what we leave behind, and we also leave the ability to protect our own. So we rely on others and trust that they will do what they must in our absence. So I'd like to thank the police and fire departments, all medical personnel, and this council for managing the chaos to ensure the citizens of this great city are safe while we go forward into harm's way. I would like to present this flag and certificate to the city of Prescott Valley for ensuring that my family, as well as all other service members' families, are safe and secure while we are away. Not only was this flag flown over our Tactical Operations Center in Camp Arifjan, Kuwait, it was carried with me throughout my travels while managing and supporting the soldiers as a reminder of what was left behind and why we do what we do. On behalf of the soldiers of the 856 Military Police Company, my family, we thank you for allowing me to be here to present this small token of our appreciation to the people of this great city and to this governing body. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. before we come down, sir, because it would be an honor for our council to be able to accept that, as well as take a picture with you and your wife.
Yes,
I just want to say, when I was a small child, I was big into comic books. Always had comic books, and they were always superhero comic books. And one day, my dad finally broke the news to me and said, hey, superheroes that you read about in those comic books aren't real. And he said, who are the real superheroes? Are individuals like you, sir, and your brothers and sisters that fought for our country and defended our country. And I cannot thank you enough for what you do and for all the veterans in this room right here. So thank you all for what you do. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Where do you think we're going? Now moving on, call to the public. At this time, members of the public may comment on matters listed on the agenda or solely on matters within the jurisdiction of the town. Any persons wishing to address the council must register their name with the town clerk prior to the commencement of the meeting. The council's response is limited to responding to criticism, asking staff to review a matter commented upon, or asking that a matter be put on a future agenda. Such remarks shall be limited to 3 minutes unless additional time is granted by the mayor. As we've done before, the clerk will call some names. You'll come up to the podiums. At 30 seconds left, you will hear a ding. And then once 3 minutes is complete, you'll hear multiple rings. And that means your time is up. Doesn't mean your time is up to speak to council. You can make an appointment anytime you'd like to meet with staff or council. And also, we're kind of adding a new rule to the call to the public. And the new rule is actually there is no rule. It means that you can come up and speak about any matter you wish to speak about for 3 minutes. So if you wish to come up and read the Declaration of Independence, you get to do so for 3 minutes. We realize, or many of us realize, that call to the public is a privilege. We're not required to do it, but the town council here recognizes the importance of the First Amendment. And for us to say what we should hear and not hear during the First Amendment call to the public isn't really right. So if you want to come up and criticize individuals such as myself, by all means do it. But remember, you have 3 minutes. Clerk?
Kay Gorman, Jean Knight, Steve Carroll, and Liz Kennedy will be the first names that I will read.
Welcome down. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. My name is Kay Gorman. I became a commissioner for Parks and Rec 5 years ago because I wanted to help the town that I've grown to love. I know up close and personal how much a YMCA can help the community it resides in. I worked at a Y in California before moving to Prescott Valley, and I volunteer at the Y in Prescott. When COVID hit, everything closed down, but the Y in Lancaster opened up every week to feed the community. In Prescott, the governor asked Damon to help the childcare open for first responders' children, another example of the YMCA helping their community. The Y in Prescott has special classes with certified instructors for people with Parkinson's. You don't have to be a member, and it's free. I volunteered in the class and talked to people taking the class, and they tell me how much it helps. Another example of the Y helping their community. And there are no other classes like the Parkinson's class available. All classes at the Y are there because the people in the community need them. from very young children to seniors. No child or family is turned away. There are scholarships for those in need. The Y is not just a gym. It's a place where people can meet and connect with each other. Our children learn good sportsmanship, leadership, and kindness. We, the people of Prescott Valley, have been waiting a long time, and we've all worked very hard for our own YMCA. Can you please help us? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, clerk.
Jean Knight.
Welcome, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I did bring it to read just so I wouldn't lose my spot here. I've lived here since 1995, and I wanted to share something with you that was the most heartwarming thing that I encountered in this community over all the years. With so much negativism globally and locally, I want to share this positive experience. I happened into Walmart, not thinking, but I was in a hurry, I needed something. And when I walked in, of course, the police and the police cars and sheriff's cars was probably my first clue that I should have maybe gone another day. But needless to say, when I walked in, I realized that it was Shop with a Cop Day. So rather than getting my stuff really quick and leaving, I decided to roam around. And if you have never experienced the look on these children's faces, I got very emotional. But I still kept walking, and I thanked a couple of the officers for their service for doing this. Because it takes away from the community, and I know it wasn't just Prescott Valley, but when I spoke to them, you could just see the compassion on their faces with the kids. As I said, I got very emotional, so I did talk to one officer with these two little girls, and I actually did start to cry a little bit, which I can do at the drop of a hat. I don't need this. But to me, it was such a positive experience. And when he said to me, and it was our officer, he said, this is what I did, because he saw me tearing up when I was getting ready to do this morning. And he said, it's one of the highlights of my year. And I always sign up to do it and always hope that I can. So I want to thank you, Mayor, Council, Chief Ticer, for continuing to do this wonderful thing that puts us on. This is why I moved here, is to have that real positive experience over something so little. To me, because I don't have children, but it was just so little, and if you saw the faces on those children, oh my gosh. And I just wanted to share that with you and to thank you for continuing to do this.
Thank you, ma'am.
Steve Caros.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening. So I'd like to briefly comment on 3 different issues that are currently being addressed by you folks. First of all, many of us have recognized that the audio in here in the council chambers is failing, causing lapses in our ability to hear and everything being said, especially from these forward-facing podiums. So I'm delighted to have been informed by Town Manager Davidson that he is calling for a state-of-the-art upgrade to the system. We will all benefit when able to clearly hear all that occurs in the meeting. So thank you, Mr. Davidson. Secondly, I attended the Town Council Retreat Workshop last Friday. One of the very important issues that was discussed was the implementation of a code of conduct and ethics for elected and volunteer officials. There were several things mentioned by council members that demonstrated that as the first draft of this policy is refined and polished, there is also needed a formal ethics, integrity, and harassment avoidance training required within the policy. Furthermore, I strongly recommend that the enforcement section of the policy would call for a 3-member civilian review board, and that would be annually selected and placed by council in lieu of using expensive outside attorneys or the suggested 2 council members, which could cause conflicts. Finally, I have some suggestions regarding the YMCA project. I would never be one to push back on placing something on the ballot for voters to decide. However, I understand that there is the consideration for a vote of the people to approve raising the Prescott Valley sales tax, albeit with a sunset clause. to pay for the enormous increase in the projected cost of the project. This went from 22 million to 29 million, and now I'm hearing somewhere between 40 and 50 million. Not sure people realize that. Anyway, there's a number of residents who have indicated that they would like an indoor aquatic center to be part of the project. Not only are the YMCA people apparently not very excited about this, but I believe many of those residents requesting such an aquatic center were not aware of nor considered that there would be a tax increase involved. So my suggestion is a committee be formed made up of residents to explore the actual interest level of the public and determine if a ballot item calling for an increase in sales tax would even be necessary. Considering today's economic climate and the age demographic of our town, I sincerely suspect that folks would prefer the project to be scrapped due to cost. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Clerk?
Liz Kennedy?
Welcome, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Liz Kennedy. I'm a resident of Granville. And there's been a little consternation for about a year or so about the Frisbee Golf behind the residents that back up to the park. I came about a year ago and said something about it. But a couple months ago, I came with a big stack of Frisbees. And it did the trick. Thank you so much for moving the hole.
Awesome. Glad to hear it, ma'am. Clerk?
Jason Zenzaletta, Tonia Fortner, Mackenzie Yao, and Atilano Olivas.
Welcome, sir. I'm going to remind you specifically 3 minutes.
I would remind you to get to work. Excuse me. I love doing that. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jason Zenzaletta. I'm a resident of Viewpoint here in Prescott Valley. I'm president of Prescott Broadcasting, and I am a member of the board of directors of the YMCA in Prescott. Folks, almost every day on the station, you probably heard that I discuss the crisis that we face in our community and our country. The crisis tonight is that we do not have a Y in this community. My family arrived here in 1986, and my dad built a house over in Unit 19 in 1988. I could sit on the roof while I was helping to roof and look around and see 24 homes going up around us. There were 5,000 people in this community. Every road except one was dirt, and even then, we needed a Y. I joined the YMCA board in 2020 to do what I could to help bring a YMCA to the Prescott Valley. And I must say that the board has done an exemplary job in trying to get something here in this community. Our community is now 10 times bigger than when I got here. And that was nearly 40 years ago. I had to sit there and count for a moment. And the need here is not 10 times greater for a Y, it's 100 times. The economic and social benefits to this community far outweigh the cost of putting one in. The vast majority of people who have been polled about the need for a Y by more than 5 to 1 want one in this community. The people who have been polled are your bosses, the people who put you in this place where you're sitting right now, every one of you. So we ask you now on behalf of your bosses that you serve, do what you are hired to do and do your duty and bring a Y to the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, ma'am.
Hi, Tanya Fortner, longtime Yavapai County resident, 46 years. I came here when I was 24. My kids learned to swim at the Prescott Y. I think one of the biggest attributes of the Y is what it can benefit families for the cost that it costs them compared to other things that they can do. For the price of taking a family of 4 to the movies one time and buying them popcorn and drinks, you can have a month's worth of membership at a Y. That benefits the entire family. There's all kinds of fitness programs, every fitness program you can think of, from Zumba, yoga, all of them, let alone all of the programs for the kids. Swimming, gymnastics, dance, basketball. My daughters learned to play basketball. I coached basketball there. It's just endless, the opportunities for a family to do things together there. The other really important aspect of the Y to me is daycare. If you get a kid in daycare at the Y when they're little, 2 and 3 years old, they tend to stay in the Y family till they grow up. And this keeps them off the streets. They learn things like basketball. And so I'm just saying, I'm a Prescott Valley resident, and I just love our downtown area. I love the park. I love where the police station is. I love these buildings. It's beautiful. A Y would be the icing on the cake. And I thank you all for doing your jobs, because I know that it's a lot of studying, it's a lot of reading, it's a lot of socializing, it's a lot of work, and it's probably a lot of grief too. So I thank you all for doing your jobs.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mackenzie.
Good afternoon, everyone, the mayor and the council members. My name is Mackenzie Gowell. I'm currently 15 years old, and I have been a part of the Youth in Government, program for 2 years, almost 3 years now. To begin with, before going into high school, I did not know much about the government past the 3 branches of the government. I didn't. And you can see how this can be extremely problematic. But luckily for me, the Youth in Government had a program called Youth in Government, which is an active civics program that teaches you how the government works by taking kids to the Arizona State Capitol and teaching them actively. In my opinion, active education is the most effective type of learning. Not only has the YMCA Youth in Government program affected my understanding of the government, it affected my leadership skills. Growing up, I was definitely not shy or timid. However, I did definitely lack leadership skills. I didn't know how to balance being direct and polite, and I didn't know how to motivate my peers. However, Youth in Government taught me valuable leadership skills. I can prove this by the fact that I was House Chaplain last year, and I was even elected next year's Attorney General. I'm not saying this to necessarily brag. I'm saying this because Youth in Government works. Not only has it affected my understanding of the government and has given me important leadership skills, it has even allowed me to commit real change in real life. A part of being a House of Representative, which I was last year, you have to have a bill. And to have a bill, you have to have a passion. My passion was implementing a fragrance-free aisle in all major retail stores as an accommodation for individuals with disabilities. To be able to create a bill, you have to conduct research. And to do this, you have to communicate. Through communication with the Gail Gardner Walmart in Prescott, I was able to make real change and have a fragrance-free end cap that sold out within 24 hours. I couldn't have done it without the YMCA, and I couldn't have done it without Youth in Government. And I know that I definitely wouldn't be the same person I am now if it wasn't for Youth in Government. I want to thank you all for giving me this amazing opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, ma'am, 15 years old? Ladies and gentlemen, give it up. Clerk.
Atilano Olivas.
Welcome, sir. Just remember to get close to that microphone, please.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. City Council, my citizens. Winter has finally hit here in Prescott Valley. It is cold out there. Hearing that young lady, I really enjoyed her speech. 15 years old. Ouch. Topic I want to talk to you about is your codes person. I've taken a ride with the town manager, and we have seen the problems we're developing. A lot of weeds, a lot of growing. We don't want to become a firebomb again like California has. We have high winds that can blow the fire up at 35 miles an hour. We cannot outrun that. That person needs to get out there and get her people working to inspect these lots, these addresses, make sure that they're clean, that they're code. they're building shacks out there without building inspectors bringing electricity out to them. That has to be taken care of. I live down the street on Saratoga. And there's an empty lot there. It belongs to the city. And I have to fight to get it clean. Why isn't it put on the agenda and get the weeds cleaned down? Can anybody answer that?
Mr. Olivas, you understand that we can't engage in a conversation back and forth because it's not an agendized item.
Okay, great. Anyways, that's what things got me worried. I have family members coming in tomorrow. They're coming in from California, and they're scared. They're leaving their homes. Okay, so let's not let that happen here. Get that code person under. You can't rely on a person telling or calling on his neighbor and doing a remark and complaining about his yard. That brings hard feelings between neighbors. We don't want to do that. So get that person to get the people out there to drive and to walk some of these areas and look at them. And write these people up, get them to clean their yards and their weeds. Second topic is the road where Wells Fargo and Bank of America and across the street where we had a water leak there last month. And it lasted for 5 days. No one, I called it in and they said, well, we can't work on it until the weekend. Something about the people working there closing buildings down and businesses. By George, you let that water run like that, it cavitates the underground, and sooner or later it'll cave in. We have these big trucks, gravel trucks running through there. They're 70 tons, and they run at 30, 35 miles an hour through there. The deflection of the tires will smash anything in there. Are the codes really up to date to inspect that any underground utilities are sleeved and protected in concrete in case so that those trucks don't smash them?
Thank you, Mr. Olivas. And as always, Mr. Olivas, I'm sure you heard us earlier say that if you'd like to speak to us further, please make an appointment with anyone from staff. Clerk?
No one else, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, council comments. Go to my right, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to definitely talk about real quick the second State of the Town address that is coming up, and that is going to be on Tuesday, January 28th, and the doors open at 10:30 in the morning. It's going to be at the Findlay Toyota Center. I know tickets are still available, but I just wanted to definitely put that out there.
Thank you.
Also,
Councilman,
real quick, Mr. Mayor, also, as the former chair of the CAFMA board, I do want to acknowledge that with all the fires in California, CAFMA did send a Type 6 engine, and it is currently doing basically protection in the Altadena area. So I just wanted to acknowledge and thank CAFMA for heeding the call for aid and sending an engine to California.
absolutely. Councilwoman Greer.
Yes, I just want to say, if anyone here has family in Los Angeles, I pray that they're safe and that they didn't lose their homes. My thoughts and prayers are with them.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Davidson.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I have two positive things tonight. So we have two members of our staff that have recently been recognized for their outstanding service to our community and in this profession. First is our Deputy Town Manager, Ryan Judy, just received what's called the Connolly Award. It's through the Arizona City County Management Association. It's one person in the state of Arizona that gets this award, and it's going to be presented at the end of this month at the winter conference for ACMA. So very proud and excited for Mr. Judy and the work that he does for us, and definitely being recognized by that award. And our great town clerk, Fatima Fernandez, also has received a statewide recognition. It's called the Jane Morris Scholarship Award. And this enables her to also attend this winter conference and recognition of all of her work and the contributions that she makes within the clerk's profession. So, yeah. So thank you to both of them.
Moving on, item 7, consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine by the town council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Council, we've all had a chance to review our packet. If no item needs to be removed, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Macon, I make a motion to approve all items listed under consent agenda by electronic vote.
Can I have a second?
I second that motion.
You. Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Freund? How do you wish to vote? Thank you. That passes, Mayor.
Thank you. And I apologize, Councilman Freund. Is there any comments you have? I'm used to looking for you and I forgot to look at the table. My apologies. Next up, old business, status facilities management agreement, PVCCI, discussion only. Ms. Reuter, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I am here to give an update on the YMCA project and to seek council's discussion and direction on how you would like staff to move forward. I can bend down, I guess. Can I touch the microphone? How's that? Is that better? Okay. So I have a short presentation here. Why won't that go forward? Can you? I don't know. Is there a keyboard? Okay. Sorry about that. Apparently the clicker is not working. So high level, just wanted to give a brief overview of what the role of a project manager or construction manager is to ensure a successful project. I'm sure you all know this, but for those that don't, there are 3 key components to being a successful project, and it is the job of a project manager, construction manager, to ensure that we meet each one of these components. So the first one is to meet the approved scope of work or program that was approved by council and through our CIP project or through a contract. The second is to make sure that we meet the project schedule both during design and construction. Time is money, so we want to make sure we stay on track. The third is to remain within the approved project budget. And so for the YMCA, we decided to use a CMAR, Construction Manager at Risk process. This allows us to bring in contractors early, designers early, and actually get true costs of what's going on in industry standards right now. So to speak about we're really going to hyper focus on the cost tonight because we can absolutely meet the scope, we can absolutely meet the schedule, but what we can't do is fit the actual scope of work into the budget of $29 million. So the project was $29 million approved through the contract with the YMCA and the town. $3 million would be contribution from the YMCA. That $29 million does not include the additional $2.5 million for the design and construction of the Main Street extension, which runs south of the YMCA and would tie into is that Lake Viewpoint as you go north. So total $31.5 million. So just to recap, the program scope of work, I use those interchangeably. Program is typically for a building, scope of work is usually for a road. Program was agreed to be for almost 45,000 square foot, 2 buildings, 1 2-story YMCA community center with no aquatic center, and then 1 freestanding child care center. And that's what you see broken down there. This was the initial site plan that was provided to the town via the YMCA's architect, Grow. There's quick layout. Obviously, as we get farther into design, things may change. There's floodplain to the northwest corner, so things may have to shift around, but this gives you a schematic overview. You'll see the Early Childhood Learning Center on the left, and then the YMCA, and a future aquatic center site. This is what the buildings look like internally. So it's a 2-story community center with a child watch, kids adventure, lobby, locker rooms, gym, upstairs walking track, and then a standalone child care center. So to assist the town with making sure that we made this project successful is we brought in professional project manager, construction manager services to help lead this project as an extension of the Public Works team. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Kitchell to walk us through their cost estimating.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thanks. My name is Damian Glaze. I've been with Kitchell for 21 years, 29 years in the construction industry. Going back to the earlier slide that showed the role of the project manager, one of the things that I want to make sure that it's clear to the council is that you understand that our participation in the project is to provide the best value for the town as possible. It's an unbiased, third-party, completely unbiased look at the scope and the budget for the project. So, thank you. So, one of the things that I've become aware of recently is who we are as Kitchell. Kitchell has 4 operating companies. The company that we work for is Kitchell CEM, which stands for Capital Expenditure Managers. Some have referred to us as Kitchell Construction, and that is not what we are. We do have a construction company that's part of the corporation, but they do the building. We do the third-party public sector advisory and consulting work. And we have professionals that provide professional estimating, professional EAS services to complement our program, project and construction management services, and we provide facility management assistance as well. So the one thing that I want to make sure that it's understood is that when we provide information that we provide, it's completely objective and with the sole purpose of furthering the best interests of the town. So when we started this process, the first thing that we were brought on board to do was to evaluate the budget and provide a ROM estimate, which is a rough order of magnitude estimate, where we take a look at the program documents as they are. That was provided by GROW. GROW is a GROW development, which was engaged by the YMCA prior to us coming on board, and they provided some very useful documentation that's of a typical YMCA development that they would provide around the country. And they specialize in YMCAs, and we appreciate their effort. We did a lot of consulting with them as we move forward in the process. GROW's cost development was mostly through design phase, whereas when we look at it, we want to look at what it'll be at the end of the project. When construction's complete, change orders and all that other stuff have happened, we look at the holistic portion of what a total project cost will be. And one of the things that we knew that we needed to reconcile some of their approach was when we saw their estimate, they didn't have state taxes, whereas in Arizona, all projects have to pay for state taxes. So that was something those are the things that we looked at to kind of normalize their budget estimate, as well as the rough order magnitude estimate that my colleague here, Matt Chappell, prepared. And Matt, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Matt Chappell. I'm the estimating director with Kitchell. I've been with Kitchell for 23 years. I've been an estimator for 15, and I'm a certified estimating professional, just here to provide estimating support to our project managers. So.
Go ahead.
So on this slide, this was what we did in part of the analysis was we took that overall, the number provided to us by GROW, which is that 28,624,000, and then to normalize the data so that we could put it into an apple-to-apple comparison to what we normally see. We had to make some assumptions on how they broke down we wanted to break down to just the sub cost versus the construction cost versus the total project cost. And it's because each one of these comes from a different place. So the subtotal cost is typically what you're going to see from your subs. It's the actual cost to do the work. And then the total cost is the total construction cost is what you're going to see from the general contractor. And then the total project cost down below is what the town is going to pay for the total project. And each one of these has a factor on what gets paid for and where it gets paid. So in order to put that into the gross number into something that we can understand and compare to, we made a few assumptions like on some of the line items, general conditions, which is the cost to manage the work. We assumed a percentage, which is typically what we would assume for a project this size and this type. Some other things, assumptions we made was that the taxes were included, whether they were or not, we're not completely sure, but we assume that they were. And by doing this, we backtracked into from the 28 million into what you see up above, which includes the sub-cost, construction cost, and the total project cost. The way in which we created our numbers in order to compare to that is that we took a number of different projects that we've managed. We have a large database of completed projects, which we use to determine similar type projects in the area which have been bid or constructed. And we use that to determine kind of a cost per square foot on a high level without going into too much detail to provide an estimate. We wanted to provide the best value. We also did a detailed site takeoff. So our estimate includes a composite square foot cost and a detailed site cost. And then we also provided the cost for the offsites.
Yeah, and one of the things that we wanted to make sure when we were putting together our number was that this would be in real time of construction today, whereas the GROS, budget number, was based on 2023 data with construction starting at the end of 2023, and we knew that this project would not start until 2027, so there's some escalations that happen over that period of time as well.
So in normalizing their data, we put it side by side with our data. And obviously there are a number of different deltas between the two data. This comparison, obviously, our bottom line of the 48 million versus their 28 million is a significant difference. But we're trying to kind of show how we got to that number and why the comparison, where the differentials really are. There's a number of each one of these line items has a reason and a place and a methodology and how we determine these things. So in looking at the comparison, big things, the big ones stand out obviously are the soft costs, contingencies, and escalation. Escalation is an important part of how we project what the cost for the construction is going to be in the future versus, so we do our estimates basically in today's data, and then we add an escalation factor for what it's going to be when it actually bids out, is designed and bid out. And then the soft costs are the big differential in the soft costs. The soft costs are the cost of the town to manage the project. It includes your architectural design fees, your construction managers, any advertising, inspections. It's the town's cost. There's a number of different things in the breakdown of those soft costs, which we can get into more detail, but those are obviously the main differentials. And one big thing we like to say about our conceptual estimate is it's a roadmap. We feel like the number we provided is an adequate number. Can it be done for less? Obviously it can be. We're early on in design, in conceptual, but our roadmap we feel is a little bit. We feel like it could be anywhere between 42 and 48. I think is what we're thinking the current project, but I think Damien was talking more about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's based on, again, the program information that we received when we got on board. As he mentioned, this is a roadmap to allow the town to now prioritize what's important in terms of this facility, to make sure that we understand where we need to cut things or change program scope to get this aligned with the budget. I mean, there's no doubt there's a project there at the budget. It's just, what does that project look like? What are the elements? And what does that mean for the town? So that, this type of an exercise gives us a, like I said, a rough order of magnitude on where we expect the current programmatic documents that we were given to end up. But now the hard work begins by getting a designer on board and designing something, value engineering, and doing all those things to get it to budget. But ultimately, as it is right now, with what we've evaluated, our professional opinion is that it's closer to a $42 to $48 million project right now. And there are some other factors that we want to make sure that we bring to the council's awareness. The industry is obviously, you've heard about long lead challenges that we're dealing with all over the country, and Arizona is no exception. Right now, trades, they're getting paid a premium for their wage, and the minimum wage, the differential between minimum wage and trades wages are shrinking. So you see people going back to some of the more traditional jobs rather than going into, working in the sun or in the cold for construction. Utilities and the lack of the equipment to procure is a very serious issue. And then schedules. Right now, we see on average between 3 and 6 months of schedule bust, and that's extra cost when it comes to general conditions and some of the contractors' fees. Locally, we have some other concerns. We recently completed the project for Yavapai County, the Justice Center. And that project at one point started out at $47 million, and by the time it was done, it was $62 million. And what we understand is that, and we're doing projects in Yuma County, all over the state, where we see that the projects outside of Phoenix are going at a little bit of a premium to get the tradesmen and the contractors to come and do that work in those areas. So we want to make sure that the town is prepared to pay that premium. And what that can affect quality of workmanship. What you have is you have typically contractors working 410s, so you have less time on the project, and they're sticking to that. And you have high turnover, as similar to this minimum wage increase. You've got people going back and doing other jobs, and they're not returning to the project, which then affects the schedule. And then overhead premiums to come up to when the project falls behind, they got to pay their tradesmen overtime, and we're seeing a lot of that increase on projects. So these are the things we want to make sure that the town is aware of when they're building their roadmap to success for these projects. So with that, I will turn it over to any questions that you may have for us.
Thank you, guys. Council, you have any questions for these gentlemen or Ms. Reuter? Councilman Freund? Thank you.
And then I think at this time, I think the YMCA wanted to come up and share some information with you as well. So we'd like to welcome the YMCA. Damon
Thank you.
And Wayne up.
Sir, if you don't mind handing off that microphone battalion right there. Welcome, sir.
Are we switching PowerPoints?
You're telling me you're a lawyer and we can't figure this out, Stephen? All right, I apologize. It wasn't working for staff, so.
Just use the arrows on the key, yeah.
The keyboard is the trusty solution. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Stephen Polk, Boyle Petridge Law Firm, 125 North Granite Street, Prescott, Arizona. And with me is Damon Olson, the CEO of the YMCA, and Wayne Bennett, one of the longtime YMCA board members who's been working diligently on this project. The YMCA is a committed partner to operating and building the facility that the town wants. We've been working on this for 5 years together. And when I say 5 years, the current plan for 5 years. The town has been working on trying to get a YMCA for many, many years, but we've been seriously working as partners with the town since 2019. that started with doing a mailer and a due diligence study where the residents actually provided detailed questionnaire answers. And I think we did provide a copy of that in a letter to you recently. So if this involves a pool at this time, let's work together to make that happen. The original plan that we signed back in 2021 that did involve a pool, and then that later got revisited, the town came to us and we changed it up. The town asked to be the actual owner of the facility, and as part of that change, for financing reasons, the pool got pushed to phase 2. But if it involves a pool now, let's work together and let's figure it out. And then finally, although we believe that $29 million will be sufficient to build the project plan as it's currently planned, the council may wish to instruct staff to investigate additional funding sources. We submitted a letter to town council last week, kind of providing detailed cost estimates on this from 3 really well-qualified sources. Grow Development, they have built hundreds of YMCAs all over the country and hundreds of YMCAs in partnership with municipalities. I should say, maybe not hundreds, but other YMCAs in partnership with municipalities. And then also we have Hayden Construction and Westpac, and 2 really good, well-qualified firms that build in Pike County and also build these types of facilities. So you did hear from Kitchell, and they have a more conservative estimate, and that's really, that is a conservative estimate. It's probably safe to say it could be built for that, if not cheaper. But really what I'd say is this is an opportunity to look for the ability to value engineer the project to make sure we get something that works for the community at a budget that works for the community. And also it's an opportunity to utilize the services of Grow Development. Again, they built hundreds of these YMCAs, and so there's cost savings to be had there as well. And then also, if you need to investigate the additional funding sources, I think that's what this calls for. So let's keep working together to make this project happen for the town of Prescott Valley. And with that, I'll turn it over to Wayne Bennett.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Stephen. That's the button?
Yep.
Here we go. Mayor, Council, staff, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My name is Wayne Bennett. I'm the chairman of the Prescott Valley Community Center Initiative. And I would echo what Mr. Polk had to say. This has been quite an odyssey. And I want to just take a moment to move back in time and kind of correct the record on something, because we're hearing a lot about that the YMCA is not interested in having a pool, or that there's some indifference towards that concept. And so I just want to back up and correct the record relative to that. We started this process right at the very beginning with the help of Grow Development, who you've already heard described to you their expertise, several hundred YMCAs, including many with municipal partnerships. And part of our due diligence was to research successful YMCAs. We took a little trip, didn't we, Mayor Balcuda, to other municipality partnership YMCAs in other locations throughout the state to see what are comparable, and those did include indoor pools. This is the schematic that was developed in 2020. It was put together by Grow Development. And I just want to point out for the record that this is the 2020 initial design scheme, and there's the indoor pool that's part of this design scheme. This is another look at the same concept. There's the indoor pool. Here's a copy of the floor plan. Whoops. And there's the indoor pool. So just for the record, this project has never not included an indoor pool. The YMCA process and the YMCA original concept was that we would have a full YMCA facility with an indoor pool from the very get-go. And we did quite a lot of research in terms of actual mining down on pool projects and costs and so forth, a great deal of exploratory research. And what we actually ended up settling on, just to kind of give you an indication of what we had in mind until the game plan changed, was something that's called a Dynadome. We live in a climate where we are able to enjoy good weather most of the year, and having an outdoor pool experience is a better experience than an indoor pool experience. And there's new technology on something called a Dynadome, which is actually a movable roof technology that not only costs less money to construct, but more importantly, is far less expensive to maintain over time, which is a very, very significant cost or factor when we talk about aquatic centers. Being able to sustain an aquatic center over time in a feasible fashion is what YMCA's are able to do, and that's what this process would happen. So for the record, this has always been part of our plan. The only time that changed was when budgetary constraints and availability of funding became a consideration. And so at that time, we partnered with the town and had the dialogue about the necessity of phasing. And so now, if it is in fact the opinion of the council and of the community that a pool needs to be part of this, and if we need to expand the scope of our budget, and as I hear we've paid a lot of attention to the numbers compared to the numbers coming from Kitchell and the work that they've done, the numbers that we have received from Westpac and from Hayden Construction and from Grow Development, which are much lower than these numbers. There is a difference, and we're fine that we would have to have meaningful dialogue to make sure that we value engineer budgeting process. I see now that number came down to $42 million. Our original estimate was $29 million. That did not include a pool. If we add the $10 million that an aquatic center would add to that, then we start getting back up into a similar price range. So our position, I don't necessarily want to go into arguments on dollars per square foot at this point in time. We're happy to have that dialogue down the road. But I just want to say that if it is the appetite of this community to move forward and add a pool to the project, we're here to make that happen. And I mentioned the sustainability of a pool project and a pool facility in a community, and I can't underemphasize the importance of that. A pool is a hole that you pour money into. It's very, very expensive, and municipalities who attempt to operate aquatic centers on their own fail. They operate at a deficit, a significant deficit every year. YMCA's know how to operate pool facilities. The business model of YMCA's is that the Ys must be self-sustaining and self-sufficient. We know how to do that. And so that's part of what we hope to bring to the table with this community. We want to have a pool. We've always wanted to have a pool. And we stand ready to partner on whatever the next step is. And if that means that we need to move forward with seeking alternative funding to bring to the table those funds so that we can make that project happen now, we're right there with you. We want to bring our expertise to the table and help this community build an indoor facility in addition to a viable YMCA. So we can talk about numbers. I don't think we necessarily need to go into that now, but we're happy to answer any questions if they arise from you now or in the future. And with that, I will stop talking and turn it over to our excellent CEO, Damon Olson.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mike.
Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon. Whoa, this thing works, huh? Good to say, hey, Gilbert, how are you? How about Mackenzie Owl, huh? 15 years old, youth and government program. Look out. Geez, fantastic. That is just like all of those kids in that program. They're amazing. So just by way of history, I first stepped into the YMCA when I was 5 years old. My dad worked for the Y. This is my 34th year being employed by the YMCA. 14 years here at this YMCA in Yavapai County. I've literally been involved in the YMCA my whole entire life, and it is a good thing. So today, as no surprise, I want to talk to you about the beacon of hope, a symbol of unity, and the cornerstone of our community. That's the YMCA. Like Mackenzie and others have stated, the YMCA isn't just a building. It's a movement. It's a place where dreams take root, where potential is nurtured, and where lives are transformed. At the YMCA, individuals just don't find a gym. They find a second home, a family, and a network of support. In every city, in every neighborhood it touches, the YMCA carries a profound mission to uplift people build connections, and create a brighter future for all. Take one of our single parents who found affordable childcare at our YMCA via YMCA Financial Assistance Program, where we raise money and allow people to participate in our programs. That's what we do. It helps them, enable them to pursue their career and their education. Think about Mackenzie Yao, who you just saw, who has enhanced her leadership skills as she discussed and who's learned the value of civic education and has actually, as she explained already, affected change through the bill that she wrote in our YMCA Youth and Government program, a program whose motto is democracy must be learned by each generation. Think about seniors in our Parkinson's exercise program. You know what happens when you get Parkinson's? You start to shake and you do all those other things. Well, the reality of a Parkinson's is you don't get better. You don't. But they continue to participate in our programs and classes to rediscover their sense of purpose and connect with others who share their struggle through the group activities. And think about a young child, and we hear this unfortunate story all the time, but this is a good story. Think about a young child who unfortunately fell into a backyard pool, but was able to make it safely to the side because she took swim lessons at a YMCA. We talk about a pool. When you teach a child to swim, or you teach an adult to swim, that is a life saved. These are not just stories, they're testaments to the YMCA's power to change lives. The YMCA brings people together from all walks of life, transcending boundaries of age and background. It's a place where everyone belongs and where children learn the values of caring, honesty, respect, responsibility, and compassion. Through the hundreds of examples provided by our partners at Grow Development, when a municipality partners with the YMCA, it gains more than just a recreational space. It gains a lifeline. It gains programs that address food insecurity, promote mental health, and inspire youth to dream big. Big dreams are what inspired a young former Prescott YMCA member named Kayla Mueller to give her life in service to others. The magic of the YMCA just doesn't come from its walls or its program. It comes from our community. From every volunteer who gives of their time like Dr. Bennett, every donor who invests in our mission, every staff member who works tirelessly, and every community member who walks through its doors with hope in their hearts. Our YMCA uplifts communities because we believe in the power of individuals to create change. Together, we can break cycles of poverty, inspire healthier lifestyles, and cultivate leaders for tomorrow, like you have seen in Mackenzie. And together, we can dream of a world where every person has the opportunity not just to survive, but to thrive and to make it a reality. As we have talked before many times over this 5-year journey, this Prescott Valley YMCA is too important to our community to stop working on. So let's continue to work together to find the scope of a project that we all want, including what we've always wanted, a pool. Let's continue to figure out what funding source works best for our project, and let's include a company that has helped design hundreds of YMCAs all across the country and Grow Development. And let's celebrate the YMCA not just for what it is, but for what it stands for. Let's carry forth its spirit of service, of empowerment and unity, and let's recommit ourselves to the work of making our community of Prescott Valley stronger, healthier, and more connected. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Questions?
All right. Council, we have any questions? I'll start on my left. Questions or comments? I just want to thank you all. Tonight's a pretty easy one for us, right? Like we don't have to make we don't have to vote tonight. I just want to commend Kitchell and your team for doing the work, town staff for doing the work, for the commitment from the YMCA and the board, because it's been a long time. And over that time, we've heard from our residents, and it came out that the pool is a priority. And if we can not close the door and keep working towards the goal of bringing a YMCA and a pool, so be it. And as you often say, Damon, it's a go until it's a no.
We don't say no. We're still go.
So this is a great opportunity, just continuing the conversation and just seeing what the future looks like. As we all know, every day is a different day, and hopefully we can get some answers on that. And I believe, Vice Mayor, do you have some comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We know per Kitchell's estimation that this project will cost more than the current budget, and we know and understand that the YMCA has a different assessment of the costs. This project is too big of a project to risk moving forward without some added thought and review. I think it's prudent that we take our time to make sure that we get this right for our community. With that, I'd like to see if we can have staff come back to council with a proposal to form a citizen bond committee, including size of a committee, appointment process, estimated time frame for the committee's work, and what the committee is tasked with doing.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Freund, do you have anything to add? Great, thank you, sir. Any other additional comments? Staff, any questions?
Very clear. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Y Board. Thank you, Kitchell. Yes, sir. Moving on, item 9A, Series 10 Beer and Wine Store Liquor License, Azteca Market. Ms.
She's not here today.
Greenwood is not here.
I'll be doing it. So a new application for a Series 10 beer and wine store liquor license on behalf of Azteca Market located at 8116 East Spouse Drive was filed in our office. A copy of the application was posted for 20 days in front of the premises as required by Arizona law, and no arguments in favor of or opposed to the issuance of the license were received. It is recommended that the town council now recommend approval of the application to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control. The only real change is just the change of ownership. They're adding a new member to this liquor license.
Thank you, ma'am. And this is an open hearing, so I will be, or I'm sorry, a public hearing, so I'll open it now. Is there anyone out in the audience that wishes to speak on this item? Come on down, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. Just state your name.
I'm Patricia Betzel. I just want to state I did not review this in detail beforehand. However, I have been working as a licensed healthcare architect for over 40 years. Part of my job is reviewing estimates. It is my opinion that Kitchell has...
Ma'am, I got to stop you.
Yes.
This is a public hearing for a liquor license.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All right, I'm going to say that again. Anyone here wish to speak about a liquor license? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Clerk, did you have anything else to add?
Nothing else to add, Mr. Mayor.
Council, we have any questions or comments for the clerk? Councilman Freund? No questions. Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to recommend approval of the Series 10 liquor license on behalf of Azteca Market located at 8116 East Sprouse Drive, number A and B, to the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control by electronic vote.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the vote. And Councilman Freund, you can vote whenever you're ready.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on, item 9B, wastewater treatment plant master plan. Mr. Wadsworth.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. What you're considering tonight is an agreement for a consulting firm to do a wastewater master plan.
Hang on a second, Mr. Wadsworth. I don't know. Is that microphone projecting? I'm seeing the heads.
No.
Mr. Wadsworth, just use that to speak close.
All right, can everybody hear me now? All right. So what you're considering tonight is an agreement with a consulting firm to prepare a wastewater master plan for the town. And the master plan would essentially consider, let me just go through my presentation real quick. So you have a wastewater treatment plant that's designed to handle 3.75 million gallons per day. We're currently treating about 2.7 million gallons per day. That's the hydraulic capacity. There is another measurement of capacity, which is the solids capacity or solids handling capacity. And it's not always the same as the hydraulic capacity. They don't always go one-to-one. And so we're anticipating that we're going to hit solids loading capacity before we hit hydraulic capacity. However, as we move forward with various capital programs, repairs, new processes, we want to make sure we're doing that right. So essentially, we're creating a roadmap and looking out into the future. We want to know if we're going from here to here, that we don't start off going this way first and then have to course correct. And so the master plan would look at the capacity or the capital improvements for various items. It would look at land allocation, where things would go, how much they would cost, at what point in time we would do them. And so there's a lot of different things that would be looked at. I've talked about some of this already, but we've asked the consultant to look at 3 different planning scenarios. One at 50,000 people, which is approximately where we are right now. So a short-term plan. When we hit 60,000 people, what does the plant need to look like and what does it need to have? And then at 75, so a short, midterm, and long-term plan, which would include layouts of where everything would go. It would look at, like I said, spatial, and then priority costs and how we put these costs into our long-term master planning capital improvement project, so that we'd also know what these things are going to cost and when to program those costs into our annual budgets and so forth. There are a lot of things that we are going to be looking at that may or may not come into play in the future, but obviously with the concerns of PFAS or emerging contaminants. Also the talk about going to what they call direct potable reuse, which is taking the treated effluent, treat it even better and better, and then get it back into the drinking water system. So that's kind of a really long-term thing, also a very expensive thing. So we want to kind of know where we're going, and if that's an option, you know, we want to make incremental moves in that direction. It's not something you can do overnight with one project. So that's it in a nutshell. We received 2 submittals for we asked for statements of qualifications. We received 2 submittals. One of the firms, we talked to them and they needed to really focus on another project they were already doing for us. And so ultimately they backed out and we selected HDR as the firm, and you can see their price up there for doing this work, $321,724. And I think I've gone through everything, so with that, I'll take any questions you might have.
Council, we have any questions with Mr. Wadsworth? There.
Neil, what timeframe are they giving in terms of a report back?
This will take about 9 months, and so yeah, roughly we're hoping by before Christmas of next year, we'll have everything figured out, and then all that cost information, we can start putting that into our annual budgets or our future budgets and our our 10-year capital improvement program and so forth.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Freund, do you have anything? Thank you, sir. See no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the professional services agreement with HDR Incorporated for development of a master plan for the town's WWTP in the amount of $321,724 by electronic vote.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Clerk, please call the vote. And Councilman Freund, vote whenever you're ready.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Waldron. Next up, item 9C, Town Code Amendment, Council Meeting Order of Business. Mr. Legler, you're taking this one?
Mayor and Council, on January 3rd, Friday, you held a retreat and considered a number of issues. One of the ones that you talked about was whether we should adjust the order of business that you have in your council meetings. You considered a number of possible adjustments, and you decided that one of them should be implemented by amending the code. And that was for the council as a whole to approve the agenda at the beginning of the agenda in terms of any items that might need to be postponed or any items that might need to be moved in order. And so we have prepared for you an amendment to Town Code Section 2-04-060 to make that adjustment. If you want to consider doing that, you would vote to read ordinance number 2025-948.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? Council, as you recall, just like Mr. Legler said, we discussed this last week. Mr. Freund, or Councilman Freund, do you have anything? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to read ordinance number 2025-948, amending Town Code 2-04-060 to revise the order of business in council meetings by adding approval of the agenda sequence by the full council early in the meeting by title only on 2 separate occasions and then placed on the same and final passage by electronic vote.
I'll second that.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Freund? That passes unanimously, Mayor. Ordinance number 2025-948, an ordinance of the mayor and common council of the town of Prescott Valley, a municipal corporation of Arizona, amending section 2-04-060, order of business, in article 2-4, council procedure, in chapter 2, mayor and council, to add regular agenda approval to the council meeting order of business, providing that all other chapters, articles, and sections of the town code not herein amended shall remain in full force and effect, and providing that this ordinance shall be effective 30 days after its passage and approval according to law. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on, item 9D, Town Council Advisory Board Commission Selection Subcommittee. Mr. Legler?
Mayor and Council, one of the other things that you talked about was the process of appointing individuals as volunteers to serve on advisory boards and commissions. Since 1994, there's been an informal practice of appointing a subcommittee of the council to meet with applicants and to interview them and then make a determination as to which of those applicants you would recommend to the full council to be adopted. There are other ways to do that, and so you talked about possible other ways, and the consensus was to go ahead and stay with the current practice of appointing a subcommittee that would bring to your regular meeting your recommendation for persons to be appointed. However, there was a desire to formalize this process and to modify it slightly so that the individuals who would be appointed would actually be appointed at least every year in December by the full council. And then some names of the individuals who would start serving from here on for this year were also discussed. And so we've created a resolution for your consideration tonight that does those things and appoints 3 individuals as well as an alternate to start serving on that subcommittee.
Council, we have any comments or questions for Mr. Legler in reference to this? Councilman Freund? Seeing none, I believe I'm going to entertain a motion on this.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2025-2401, formally creating a town council subcommittee to screen, interview, and recommend candidates for appointment to council advisory boards and commissions, and making initial appointments to the subcommittee by electronic vote.
I'll second that.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Freund. That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Seeing that we're at the end of our program, council, will you have anything to add for this evening? Seeing none, this meeting is going to be adjourned. And if you want to stick around for an exciting CFD meeting, you are more than welcome to do that.